A wine list that has 1,800 labels, 1,400 of them Italian. I have 500 different labels of Barolo. I have verticals of maybe 30, 40 Barolos on each page. Verticals. I have wines now all over my house. I have 2 wine cellars at home, 3 wine cellars at the restaurant. We have approximately about 30,000 bottles, 1,800 labels. But at one time when I opened up in 92 on Flamingo Road, before the restaurant, I had a wholesale company, an Italian purveyor. I imported stuff from Italy, pasta, tomato from San Marzano, multiple olive oils. I used to sell to every hotel in town because I was the only game in town. There was nobody else in town.
Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel to Las Vegas to meet my guest, Gino Ferraro of Ferraro's Ristorante, which is rightly considered one of the finest and most authentic Italian restaurants in Las Vegas and perhaps in the whole of the United States. Ferraro's has won just about every award, notably Gambero Rosso's Tre Bicchieri for its extensive Italian wine list, which I look forward to hearing more about, as well as the Gambero Rosso's prestigious Tre Forchette, its highest pinnacle for authentic Italian fine dining. Indeed, there are only 52 such restaurants in the world, with only 34 outside of Italy. And I think, Gino, there are only 11 in the United States. So bravo. You've clearly created a very special corner of Italy right off the Strip in Las Vegas. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Mark, for having me on your podcast.
Well, it's a real pleasure, Gino. We met nearly 2 years ago in Verona during Vinitaly through your head sommelier, Jody Hellman, who's my good friend and fellow Italian wine ambassador. And I recall a lovely dinner together on Lake Garda with your wife, Rosalba, and I learned a little bit about your remarkable story. So I'm eager to continue that conversation and to share this with our listeners who are located all around the world. Gino, first, in order for our listeners to gain a vivid idea of where you are, many, as I say, they're located all around the world. I'm in England. I've never been to Las Vegas. Can you please describe Ferraro's, where it's located, what the atmosphere is like? Just take us to Las Vegas.
Okay, we are about a mile from the Strip, which is where all the hotels, the best hotels are on the Strip, Bellagio. We're exactly a mile from the Bellagio, east of the Bellagio, which is on Paradise Road. Right across from us is Virgin Hotel, which used to be the Hard Rock Hotel, changed hands about 3-4 years ago. Right after COVID, they changed to Virgin. So Paradise is where the convention center is, about a mile away from the convention center. Many hotels also in Paradise. Actually, right across from us is also the Hofbrauhaus, a huge building that they have here, the German restaurant. We're in Harmon in Paradise. If you take Harmon, you go up the street on Harmon going west, you will run into Aria, you will run into Planet Hollywood, you'll see Cosmopolitan. So we are right in the center of things, in the heart of things.
So you're where all the action is in this vibrant city.
Yes, we moved here 15 years ago from Flamingo Road, which was on the other side of the Strip, which on the west side of the Strip. Now we decided 16 years ago, we moved on this side closer to the hotels and closer to the convention center because I would say that 85% of the business is tourist.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, convention business and tourist.
Okay. Now, Gino, Ferraro's has been going now for more than 40 years, but I'd like to go back earlier than that because I remember you telling me something about your early story. So can you share with us when you came to the U.S. from Italy? When was that? Where you went to and what you did? Because I know you came here and really created an amazing life.
Yes. Where I came to the United States, of six siblings, five siblings, six with me, my mother and father. We came here in 66. We landed in New York not landed, but we arrived with a ship actually called Raffaello. That we arrived in New York, and then my grandmother lived in Syracuse, New York, with my aunt, my father's sister, and I lived in Syracuse for about 9.5 years. I did not care for Syracuse for the weather and cold, and saw that the town was going declining in people and business because when I got there in 66, it was a very industrious city. You had every major industry there. And then I saw that decline, and everybody was leaving either abroad or going south. So I came to Vegas on a vacation for a week in 1974, December 74. And I liked it. I liked the weather, and I thought I could have a future here. The cards played out right, and my dream came true, actually.
Okay, Gino. Now, how old were you when you came over in
I was 12 years
1967?
old.
12 years old.
Yeah, I'm an old man. Almost 72.
Oh, well, I'm not far behind you, Gino. And so that's an amazing story. So, your family, where did they come from?
Calabria. We came from Calabria, as south as you can get before Sicily, if you're familiar with Calabria.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we came to this country, when I was in high school, I opened up a bar. A bar in Italy is not like a bar here. A bar in Italy is where you have one in each corner that you sell espresso, cappuccino, pastries, sandwiches, and all that. I did that at 18 years old
In Syracuse.
in Syracuse, yes.
Okay. That's amazing. So, you came here when you were 12 years old. Did you already speak English then?
No, when I went to school, I started actually in sixth grade over here, and we were taking special English classes every Wednesday afternoon after school. Syracuse had a lot of immigrants from Italy, 60,000, I believe the number was at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was immigration from Italy was big at that time. Right after the World War II, a lot of people immigrated in the United States.
Mainly in Syracuse from Calabria or from all over?
From all over, from Sicily, from Naples. Mostly the people that immigrated in this country were all from the South Italy. Very few people immigrated from the northern, from the north of Italy.
Okay, so you were 12 years old, you came to this country, and by the time you were 18, you had your first business.
Yes.
Okay, and you ran that for how long?
I ran there for about 4.5 years. Then I moved to Las Vegas. I left the bar to my brother, which was a big mistake because he was a huge gambler. So whatever he made, whatever money he made, he blew it on the horses or betting in sports and all that. So I went back after 3, 4 months. I expected to open up a bar in Las Vegas, but Las Vegas, when I came to town, was 225,000 people. Now it's 3 million. So you see the difference in 50 years. I've been in
Oh
Vegas
my goodness,
50
wow.
years. Yeah, it's 3 million people. So, we didn't have a lot of big population. We didn't have ethnic neighborhoods or concentration of people anywhere. So opening up a Starbucks style in 50 years ago was prematurely was it wasn't I went to the bank to borrow some money because I had about $70,000 in my the bank plus a couple new cars, and I was doing well with this bar, and I wanted to do the same thing in Vegas, but Vegas wasn't ready for my concept. And then I actually went in the gaming business. I started working at the MGM as a dealer. After 11 months of dealing cards, I hated it. I didn't like it. So I went to my boss and said, "Listen, I don't like dealing cards. I am very good with numbers. I've always been good with numbers and cards." And so my immediate boss said, "What do you want to do?" He says, "Well, don't you become a floorman?" If you're familiar with gaming, a floorman is in charge of 4 games. So you watch 4 games to supervise 4 games. And then from that, a year later, I became a pit boss, which was in charge of like 30, 40 games and maybe 50, 60 dealers and like 7, 8 floormen or floor people. And then a year later, I moved up to assistant shift manager where you have the power of the pen and all that. So, make a long story short, I was in the gaming for about 10 years, didn't like it. I knew I could do better on my own because when I do things, I'm passionate and I try to maximize or to realize to get to my dream, I would work hard at it. I wouldn't sleep and just work on it to make my life better.
Okay, so Gino, when I was in Verona and we met, I met your lovely wife, Rosalba. Were you married when you went to Vegas?
Yes, we got married. Actually, I got married at 20 years old. It's a long story. I know that it's young, but at that time, and I've been married almost 52 years. At that time, women wanted to get married young. If you were 22, 23 years old, you think you're not going to get married as a woman. So Rosalba said, I'm going back to Italy to look for a man. I said, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to marry you. So that's how it happened. That's how I married. Rosalba is 3 years older than me. Don't say that to anybody, though. She looks much younger than me. She's a beautiful lady.
Yeah, she certainly is. And I know that your life together has been very much a partnership in what you've created as well. So you worked in the gaming industry, but you always had a dream. And was food and wine and hospitality a passion for you? Because you've actually been a chef yourself, you've got a great knowledge of wine. Was that something you acquired through the business, or did that passion drive you to create the business?
I started drinking wines from, believe it or not, when I was in Vegas. In the early 80s, I was drinking some California Cabernets until I discovered, when I left Italy, I was young to drink wine. But when I started discovering Italian wines, I really got passionate. I used to collect a lot of Barolo and Barbaresco and all that. Then I started doing these trips to Italy that I brought people to Italy every year for many, many years. From the early 90s up to a year and a half ago, actually. I brought the last group of 12 people a year and a half ago in Italy. So I've been bringing tours to Italy for over 30 years. So to introduce the American public, the American people, to the true, authentic Italian food and great wines of Italy. And these people, they rave about the whole trip, and most of these people are customers. They still frequent my restaurant often. So my passion started I would say, in the late 80s, mid 80s to late 80s with wine, and then started drinking Chianti, and then I discovered Barolo, which is my favorite. My license plate is Barolo.
Oh, great.
So I go to Piedmont. I have more friends in Piedmont than Vegas, Piedmont and Tuscany. Most of the winemakers that I've been seeing over the years, they became great friends, and they frequent my restaurant a lot, and I go there and see them, spend time with them in their homes and wineries.
Okay, well, that's amazing, and of course, your whole career, both in the restaurant and as well as your knowledge of wine, your extensive wine list, has followed this renaissance of Italian wine. Because in the '80s, Italian wine, both abroad but even in Italy itself, was very, very different. The great wines of Etna are quite recent. Really, we only began seeing them at the beginning of the 2000s, and Barolo even wasn't yet on the world stage with the prestige and the prices that the wines fetch now. So you were a pioneer in that respect. And I would imagine, Gino, also a pioneer in an Italian restaurant in America dedicated to serving really genuine, authentic Italian food, not Italian American food.
Yes, well, we stuck to our guns, which is, I am glad we did that, because people then come in and want fettuccine alfredo with chicken. We're confused. I said, what is that? We don't do that. That's Olive Garden. You can go to Olive Garden and get the best fettuccine alfredo with chicken. I say, we are authentic Italian, and people get upset if they don't come back. But as you know, we've been in business almost 41 years, 40 and a half years. We selected our clientele, the people that understand authenticity of Italian food. And a wine list that has 1,800 labels, 1,400 of them Italian. I have 500 Barolos, different Barolos, 500 different labels of Barolo. I have verticals of maybe 30, 40 Barolos on each page, verticals. I was the pioneer, you said, in the late 80s, in 92 actually, when I created this wine list. I knew that I was going to have a great restaurant. You have to have a great wine list. And I've been buying wine, and I still buy wines every day, because that's what I have wines now all over my house. I have 2 wine cellars at home. I have 3 wine cellars at the restaurant. We have approximately about 30,000 bottles, 1,800 labels. But at one time when I opened up in 92 on Flamingo Road, I opened up in 85 as a pizza and deli. That's how I started, pizza and deli. Before that, let me Mark, let me tell you about before the restaurant. I had a wholesale company, an Italian purveyor. I imported stuff from Italy, pasta, tomato from San Marzano, multiple olive oils. I used to sell to every hotel in town because I was the only game in town. There was nobody else in town. So I would sell, and my mother used to make pasta and sell to different hotels. We made bread and sell it to different restaurants and all that. So we were before Italian food was even known in Las Vegas, in 82, that's when we opened. We were the people that introduced Parmigiano Reggiano, Di Cecco pasta. Barilla pasta was not known in this town, so I brought it in directly from Italy. And now they make it in Illinois, of course, outside Chicago. But at one time, all these pastas, all these olive oils that I had, I was the importer for all that, cheeses and all that. So I was one step ahead of the game. That's my personality.
So you had access, of course, through your own distribution to all these great ingredients, and then you moved into the deli and the pizza.
Right. So we opened up a deli and pizza in 1985, November of 85. And what was popular in a pizza and deli, we had a huge deli with a lot of anchovies, all the olives from all over the world. But as I said, the town was small then. And it was hard to sell these items because people were not familiar with these items. But they liked the food though. So every couple of months, Rosalba would say, we got to add more tables because people want to eat instead of buying groceries. So we expanded monthly, or 2 3 months we add 2 3 tables, and then remove shelves from the grocery department. And then we became a great restaurant, and only restaurant, no more deli.
Oh, okay. Was that the start of Ferraro's
Yes,
Ristorante then?
yes, yes.
Okay, okay. And then you were on the Flamingo Road for,
Since 92 to 2009. So we moved in Vegas, to the Paradise 2009.
okay. And you had a different clientele then on the Flamingo Road. Was that more of a locals?
No, actually, we always try to cater to the tourists somehow because even hotels send us players, their customers, to dine at our restaurant. That we will bill them at the end of the month, and because we were the only Italian fine dining restaurant with a great wine list and authentic Italian food. I've always brought chefs from Italy in my restaurant. Then my son, after he came back from Italy in 2003, I believe it was, he left, 2003, 2004. So he did his apprenticeship in Montepulciano, Tuscany, at a great restaurant called La Grotta that I frequent there for many years, and I loved it. So I said, you should get, the Italian flair. Go back there, work for 6 months, so you get acquainted with the Italian authenticity of food. And he did that when he graduated from CCA from California, San Francisco, California Culinary Institute. So he graduated in 2022.
Okay. And Gino, you yourself, when you were beginning the restaurant, you went back to Italy and also worked as a chef. Is that right?
Yes, I worked for in my hometown. I grew up with this great chef, Giovanni Gattis. He worked in Bologna. When I left Italy, he became a great chef because I left at 12 years old. So when he got through school, he went to Italian culinary and he became one of the top chefs in Italy. If you look him up, Giovanni Gattis, he's in Soverato, where I'm from, and on the beach resort. And his restaurant was Ristorante del Sol, Restaurant of the Sun. And I used to go there every summer. So one summer I said, I'm going to go and spend 2 3 months with him for a couple of years. And I did that in 1990. I did that in 1993. So I spent 2 months in it. And then I read a lot of books. I learned the hard way, the hard knocks. I went to the hard knock school because I had learned do things myself, get in the kitchen, and I would try and error on everything. I read a book that I loved from Vincenzo Buonassisi. That was my Bible. That was the book that I referred to anytime I wanted to do a great recipe. And then my passion then took over, and I got in the kitchen when I had to fire a chef or a chef quit for whatever reason. Then I took over and I cooked for about 15 years, from 93 to 2000 and something. So and then my son took over when he came from Italy in 2004, I believe it was.
Okay, that must be a great source of satisfaction that the business you created, you and Rosalba created, continues with your son involved. I know you have other ventures that he's working in, but you're able to work together as a family. It's still very much a family enterprise.
Definitely. My wife and I and my mother, we worked side by side for many years. Now my son is running the restaurant because I want to slow down, to tell you the truth, because I have a bad back and bad knees, and I come in for a few hours a day just to keep an eye on things, where I see a lot of things that my son doesn't see yet. Of course, I've been in it all my life. So I want to just supervise him, like show him the ropes on everything, he's 47, but he should know everything. But my eye is still better than most of the people that work here.
Yeah, well, I guess it's your creation and you want to make sure that everything is right for all the customers. I'm just going back to the fact that you always were determined not to compromise on authenticity of ingredients, but above all on not making an Italian American cuisine, no chicken parm, no fettuccine alfredo,
Spaghetti meatballs. How about spaghetti meatballs?
spaghetti, meatballs. Where did the recipes come from? Some that you learned from the chef, some from your mother, I imagine.
Yes. What you mentioned from my mother, my wife was a great cook. So when you start a small deli and pizza and a small kitchen, you make those things at home. But then I decided that, that's not going to work because there's a lot of places like that. We want to be unique. We want to represent Italy. That's our goal. That was my goal, is to represent the authenticity of Italian food. And I think New York people, when they come to Vegas, you don't have chicken parmigiano on the menu. It's not, what kind of Italian restaurant? We are the truly Italian authentic restaurant. We don't make chicken parmigiano. We don't make spaghetti meatballs. We just stuck to our guns. We lost customers because of that. But we are the busiest Italian restaurant in town. We sell a lot of wine. We created a clientele that we selected. That we wanted this clientele that understands the authenticity and great wines. The wines that we have are incredible.
Well, I'd like to delve into more about wine, but first of all, tell us some of the iconic dishes, some of the dishes that are real signatures of Ferraro's Ristorante. Well, what should I be eating if I come visit you?
If you come to eat, so that the winemakers from Italy, we are known through the wine country of Italy as the best tripe in the world. Tripe,
Amazing.
coniglio, the rabbit, and also buco and the gnocchi. You will not. I will make the statement. You might say I'm crazy. Our gnocchi are the best in the world. There's no better gnocchi in the world than our gnocchi. No matter what sauce we make them with, because they are, as soon as you put them in your mouth, they're pillows. They're wonderful. They're light. And people say, how can you make gnocchi so light? It's my wife's recipe. She made them so great that we make 30 pounds of gnocchi every other day. 30
Wow.
pounds. Yeah.
And you're still making pasta daily.
We make pasta. We make 10, 15 different types of pasta, including paleo pasta that my wife created about 20 some years ago, which is made of almond flour. People, they're allergic to carbs, or they don't want to eat carbs, or they're,
Gluten.
they're gluten free. She created this pasta with almond flour, arrowroot, and another ingredient for bonding. So this pasta, people that want to eat pasta without carbs or without gluten, we create that pasta for them, and we sell a lot of that too.
Okay. Now, just give me a menu of what I should eat: an antipasto, a primo, a secondo, and a dolce if I'm visiting you, and then we'll discuss the wines we could be pairing.
Yes. So a lot of people come to Ferraro's and they say, I want you to take care of us. The first thing we do is send a cold appetizer with carpaccio and yellowtail, the ricciola. And the quality of these two items, we use prime sirloin rolled with arugula inside, Dijon mustard sauce, Parmigiano Reggiano. Then we squeeze a lemon on top. We roll it. It's a roll of this meat, but the meat itself is incredible. Squeeze a lemon and olive oil on top, and then we serve it with. If I'm making, that's what I'm doing. I'm making a menu for you if you eat it in my restaurant right now. And then we
Yeah.
do the ricciola, or We can even do the octopus that we do a lot of. We got away from doing burrata and buffalo mozzarella because everybody has that. And we want to be unique. We want to be different. We don't want to be, because every pizza place in town has buffalo mozzarella and they have burrata. And everywhere you go, burrata. We just took it off the menu because we don't want to do that. So the second course, I will give you a combination of two bite-sized pasta. So I will always do the gnocchi because the gnocchi are incredible. Or I would do a matriciana. I would do a rigatoni matriciana. We do different raviolis every week. We feature the wild boar ravioli. We are doing lamb ravioli. This actually right now we're doing right now. So I would give you a couple raviolis and gnocchi or matriciana and gnocchi. But gnocchi is always part of the pasta course.
With what sugo?
Sugo, pomodoro, we change our sauce on the gnocchi every 6 months because we want to change to make people get excited when they I wonder what the sauce is going to be. We always change the menu, seasonal menu. So right now we're doing the gnocchi with porcini mushrooms, with mixed mushrooms, because it's in the winter.
Lovely. Yeah.
So the sauces vary, but the matriciana is always the Roman sauce. The guanciale that we bring from Italy. The guanciale from Italy, we do not buy guanciale in this country. It's totally different. Totally different. The flavors are totally different. Then for the main course, I would give you, if you were dining with somebody else, I would do half of ossobuco and maybe rabbit, or do a little tripe on the side. Those are the best items that I think you will find.
How do you do the tripa? I love tripa.
Tripa is with a light, very, very light tomato sauce, a little spicy, but brothy sauce. It's not a heavy sauce. So you want to taste the tripe. We always try to feature the ingredients versus the spices or the other. Garlic in this country is so overused. We do not do that. I repeat that. We hate to use a lot of garlic because we want you to taste the ingredients when you eat them. Over here, people put raw garlic on top of every dish that they think it's Italian. That's not. You go to Italy. You've been to Italy. I go to Italy twice a year. I never taste garlic like in this country. That you cannot talk to people for after a week after you eat in some of these restaurants. It's very offensive. That oregano. They use oregano in soups over here in this country. Oregano does not belong in soups. It doesn't, because they will ferment in your stomach and they will repeat in you for hours. Yes. We take pride in what we do. You see my passion, right? You hear my passion.
How do you prepare the rabbit?
The rabbit is with onions, a couple cloves of garlic, which we remove. We make $16 every day. We sell out every day of the rabbit. So we saute the onions with the pancetta, Italian pancetta. First the pancetta, then do very thin onions, a couple cloves of garlic, let it get a little bit brown, golden. And then we put the rabbit in, and we add, of course, olive oil. And then broth, vegetable stock, and we let it simmer for about 2.5, 3 hours in its own juice. So it's a very light sauce it's a broth. It's incredible. It's really one of our best dishes.
Yeah, that sounds great too. I'd like to have it all, Gino. And what about your desserts?
Okay, desserts, cheesecake. Rosalba makes an awesome cheesecake from ricotta. Then pistachio passion, which is a pistachio custard that she uses mascarpone cheese, the 2 layers of mascarpone cheese, and in the middle this pistachio pudding, with a walnut crust on the bottom. And this has been on our menu for 40 years. People love it. But the best thing she does are the amaretti cookies. She makes the amaretti cookie from almond paste. They are incredible. Actually, we have to make them now every other day. That's how much we sell of those. Actually, they're going to be on our website to sell, because we're going to do a retail on our website to sell our dip that we use in our restaurant, the cookies, the sauce, the pomodoro sauce that we make, and olive oil. That's under our label from Sicily.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That makes sense. People would want to have those after they've tasted them. That sounds an incredible meal. I would love to eat all of that, Gino.
Well, come over.
I will. I've never been to Vegas, and Jody's told me about it and told me about Ferraro's. It would be my first port of call if I do make it over.
You'll be my guest. Anytime you're in town, you'll be my guest.
No, that would be a real pleasure. Gino, let's turn to your other passion, and I know you've got great knowledge. And Jody's told me again what a joy it is to work at Ferraro's, to work as a head sommelier with such an outstanding list of Italian wines. I know you've got wines from California, you've got wines from elsewhere, but this is by far one of the great Italian wine lists. What are the wines that sell best? And how has that list evolved over the last 40 years? I'm looking at your list and I'm seeing areas that, 30 years ago, 20 years ago were not even well known. And now, there's such great wines coming from the South. The wines of Campania weren't so well known. The wines of Sicily, I've mentioned Etna, those would have hardly featured 30 years ago. But you've got a list that covers all of Italy. And, you've been able to develop that passion as Italian wine has really regained the position that it had in antiquity. And, the great wines from all over are now found around the world. And they're certainly found on the list at Ferraro's.
Yeah, we have, my passion is Nebbiolo. If you look at our list, we have close to 500 Barolos. I know that no one in this country has it. I know there's some people in the rest of the world that probably have similar, but not better than 500 Barolos. Because I've been to, I don't know, you've been to Ciao di Tornavento in Treviso, right? You've been to Ciao di Tornavento, you've been to Centro in Priocca. These are huge wine lists, but they have Italian wines, but their focus is more on French. But I think that my focus is Italian, and that's because I love Italian wines. There's value on Italian wines. You see the Barolos, as I was saying, 460 to I think 400. One, it varies the amount of Barolos we have on the list, even because in the winter we buy a lot, in the summer we slow down because business is not as we don't have conventions in the summer here. Those 3 months they are very hot here. Nobody, convention not prominent in Vegas, so we don't buy in the summer. But our amount of wines change. Right now, we probably have close to 1,800 labels, 17 something. But who has 470, 480 Barolos on the list?
It's an amazing list, and I think what's most striking to me looking at the list, Gino, is that you cover all the areas. You're very strong in an area like Alto Adige. You're very strong in Sicily, and you've got great wines from the south of Italy. I guess it's very important that you have somebody like Jody, a head sommelier with an extensive knowledge of Italian wines that can direct customers, wine loving customers, to something they don't know. Because the thing about Italian wine is it is confusing, and there are a lot of grapes, there are a lot of wine areas that we know about, but not everybody knows about, and you need to be guided in that respect. Otherwise, those wines are on the list and they won't move, and you want those wines to move.
Correct. Jody she's a great addition to our restaurant. She's really knowledgeable, you said, and she knows a lot of people in our industry, a lot of people. She goes all over and she knows people. She brings a lot of people into town and she goes to the table and she just recommends and people trust her. And that's important when you go to a restaurant that you trust the sommelier, that you trust the owner on the food, then you have somebody that recommends the wine. And that's what we create here. We create a comfort of that we people trust us, and that's about it. People trust us because they know they're going to get a good meal. There's a great selection of wines, and they trust us on our selection. It's important in our industry.
It's absolutely important. Gino, just a final question now. Italian cuisine has just recently been cited by UNESCO, the only national cuisine in the world to be cited as an intangible cultural heritage. And the story of Italian cuisine is a story of immigrants in many ways because of all the influences that came into Italy, the Spanish bringing foods from the New World, the tomatoes, the chilies, chocolate, the influences from Austro-Hungary, the influences from the Greeks, and all of the things the Romans did. But it's very much a living cuisine and a cuisine that develops outside of the country. And Ferraro's is very much at the center of that. So how do you see that? And was that a great source of pride for you when this UNESCO citation was announced?
Definitely. Italian cuisine is diversified in, veals. We have steaks, veal. We have a complex a menu that covers many veal, rabbit, as we discussed, the rabbit with the tripe, with pasta. There's so many things you can select from in our cuisine because, we have people that repeat in our restaurant 3, 4 nights in a row because they can eat a steak, they can eat the rabbit, they can eat the tripe, they have pasta, they can eat many different things. A lot of American people in this country, they think that Italian cuisine is spaghetti, meatballs, and chicken parmigiano. And so if they don't see that on the menu, they say, well, this is not an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, after 40 years as a restaurateur creating Ferraras, what are you most proud of?
The most proud is that the success that I had. I'm a pioneer of Italian cuisine and a great wine list. I was a pioneer of that because no one had nobody has this vision. I had this vision at a very young age that I wanted to have a great wine list. To have a great, as I said, repeat again, to have a great restaurant, you need a wine list. When I go to a restaurant, I look at the wine list before I go to a restaurant because I like to enjoy a nice bottle of wine.
Me too.
And that's important to me with my dinner. And I look for Italian wines and I look for French wines. You'll never see me drink California wines because to me, California wines are grape juice. Welch's grape juice.
I did hear what you said. Yes. I wasn't sure how to. I mean, I don't drink California wines because I don't really have access to them. I know you have access to the great Californian wines, which I'm sure the producers would not consider grape juice, but I know what you're saying. There's a difference, a world of difference.
Well, Italian and French wines pair well with food. California Cabernets, they take over. They take over your palate. You cannot taste the food. They just does not pair well with food. I mean, it's okay if you go to the bar and have a glass of Merlot, a glass of Cabernet, but they're so big, they're so mouth-filling and sweet. Where you have a nice Barolo Brunello, you have a Nerello Mascalese from Mount Etna, you have an Aglianico. Those are wines with food. Whatever you eat, that complements what you're eating.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think Italian wines across the board, wherever they're from, are meant to be enjoyed exactly in that way. With food, with friends, with family.
And there's a value in Italian wines.
Absolutely. There's a value for wines that can bring people together, that can bring joy to people's lives. And that's what Italian wines, I think, do. Gino, it's been a real pleasure meeting you here again today. Will you be coming to Vinitaly this year?
Not this year because I have a few things going on. I'm building a house and it's almost done, so I can't leave my wife by herself and moving.
Oh.
So at my age, I'm building a new house. It's
wow.
crazy. But I will be there over the summer. Probably be there over the summer and then come back next year. I'll come to Vinitaly because everybody wants me there. Giorgio Rivetti was in last week. You got to come over. Alessandro Cellai. These are big names in the Italian wine culture.
Oh, yeah.
Alessandro Cellai, even Carlo Paoli from Sassicaia come over and see us. I'm busy this year. And April is always a huge month for us because NAB is in town. The broadcasters are in town, worldwide broadcasters. And we are very busy for 10 days on that. So it's at the same time as the Vinitaly.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I'm hoping to see Jody this year.
Yeah, she will be there. She already made appointments, and I got her a couple places here and there. Are you coming to Vegas at all, Mark?
I don't have any plans, but you never know. Gino, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I hope we meet again before too long. But in the meantime, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day. I know it's only midday for you, but I'm about to open a nice bottle of wine. So have a great day.
Thank you very much, Mark. Bye-bye.
We hope today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.